Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. This is my old school breakdown of the Ancient Evil trailer. I'm not going to be streaming this breakdown, and I'm also not putting my camera on or anything like that. We're just going to go frame by frame, as you can see, literally going as every single frame plays, and talking about all the stuff that we think looks cool, and any sort of secret stuff that we might not have spotted in the first reaction, which, by the way, you can watch if you want in the description down below. So, the very first thing that we see is this temple, and I've got to say, the environment of this map looks really nice. It's something that I instantly said when I watched it for the first time in my reaction. There's a lot of zombies maps that we've had over the years, and this goes for Treyarch and the other developers, which have been kind of dingy and a little bit depressing looking, but there's something about the scenery here and the environment that I think looks really cool. I think the environment artists, that definitely gets a thumbs up from me. I really like in 9 the entire kind of Greek area where Zeus is, and more of that is something that I'm definitely happy to welcome, so we're looking good. We keep moving forwards, we obviously see our character firing a gun, then we see one of these things. Now, this looks like, to me at least, an elemental gauntlet, and whenever we get elemental things in zombies, they tend to come in 4s, and this is very promising because those sorts of things tend to be things that the community ends up really liking. I mean, the Origin Staves are one obvious example, but it's happened many times now through the years, and so having this gauntlet here, this blue infusion, and then this one here with this kind of red infusion is promising. It then goes to this shot, and we see this gladiator-looking dude with this sword. As you'll see a little bit later in the trailer, it ain't any regular gladiator, Chief. Like, there's something else going on here. I think that, I mean, you got the winged helmet there. There's obviously mythological vibes coming through, but it's like an 8-armed weird beast thing. I'm not sure if this is meant to be something inspired by Perseus, which would fit with a lot of the other mythology that we're seeing in the map, or if this is meant to be something else. I mean, as far as I remember, Perseus doesn't have, like, 6 arms, but maybe that's a hole in my knowledge, and that's something that I'm going to be reading into a lot over the weekend so that I can make some more videos informing you guys about what the deal really is with this sort of character. But you do have the winged helmet, you got a sword there, and then you got a load of multiple arms, and it looks like the character's been sewn together, and there's a load of stuff on its back, and it's just intriguing. I mean, there's this scar thing on its chest as well, which you'll see a little bit more clearly later on too, which might have some significance. I mean, it's probably going to be a weak point to shoot, right? But it might have some story significance as well. Notice also that the helmet is covering the eyes, and that is, again, another key detail in the story of Medusa. I mean, obviously, if you look at Medusa, you get turned to stone. That ain't a fun time. And so having this helmet with the wings on it, incidentally, that covers your eyes, fits right in with the sort of thing that we would be expecting. We then see Pegasus. Now, Pegasus is a specific character from Greek mythology, as I'm sure many of you know, and is intimately tied in with mythology of Perseus, Medusa, Poseidon, etc. So this is all coming together to form a pretty apparent story that's going to be told in the map. We're going to be playing with very specific elements of Greek mythology, and as you'd expect, you can see these sort of thunderclouds and this lightning here coming from the wings of Pegasus as well. Down below, we've got all these red shards, and we'll see more of that in a moment, so we'll come back to that. We're just going to keep cycling through. I think the logo looks awesome. I think this is really cool looking. I mean, I'm kind of getting like a Revelations Origins vibe, but also it does feel pretty fresh, so I like this logo personally. And we then get this little sequence where we basically throw back to some of the things that have happened in the past. So none of this really is new. We're seeing things that have already happened here. We're reminiscing about the events that have happened in Dead of the Night and then following on in Voyage and in 9. And we're basically saying, this stuff is all out of the way now, and we are now starting this new map, having finished 9, having got to the end of all of that stuff, and returning to the cave. That's the first thing we see, actually, once we get out of that flashback sequence, is the characters coming back from their little trip through time. Bruno here looks like he's got some serious arthritis going on, man. Like, he does not look like those knees are having a good time. And then we get our shot of the city. The characters go through the door, that stuff that we had teased to us. Obviously, we've got a very clear box light there. And there's this gold thing in the background as well. We've got our temple, we've got a whole load of little pathways here, which kind of give me almost a Dead of the Night outside vibe. Like, you know that one little outside bit where you can go along those paths? That's kind of a vibe that I get from this sort of stuff, which I guess is because a lot of the assets that we've seen in previous maps are being used again here, naturally, because that's how they always make zombies maps, right? But that's obviously just an incidental kind of similarity rather than something that is going to be of any significance. So we don't need to worry about that too much right now, I don't think. And again, again, you're seeing these red shards, right? All over the place. We then go forward. The characters grab these ropes. So it looks like we're going to be rappelling down into the map. I mean, we're not actually going to be starting the map this way, I don't think, because we see the start of the map a little later in the trailer, but that could have been really cool. If we rappelled down and that was how we spawned in, that would be dope. Anyway, our characters move through. We see some zombies. Bruno's like, nah, fam, you don't want to mess with this dude. And the zombies don't attack. And this is going to relate to what the Oracle does with our characters in a moment. And notice in the background here, all of these statues and these sort of brass figures that you've got in the background. You've got some on the left side as well here. There's all sorts kind of overlooking us as we play. And I really hope that they're not just going to be for show. And I hope that there's going to be some kind of interplay with these things, because they are all over the place. They're everywhere. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity for that if Treyarch want to go in that direction. So anyway, we see our Oracle here, and if you know anything about oracles in mythology, this suspension over a pit of vapors with the Oracle sitting in the chair here is exactly the sort of thing that we expect, and you can tell that it's the Oracle straight away because of that, and that's what I said in my reaction video as well. I was like, is that the Oracle? Oh, right, they're suspended over the pit of vapors. Makes perfect sense. Great, so we can pretty much cast any doubt aside there, but the Oracle is trapped, which is interesting. The Oracle is not here of their own will. As you can see, they're actually shackled to this chair. And I guess the question is then, why? Like, what is the deal? Is this something related to what the Nine are up to? Or is this its own thing entirely? We just don't really know right now. We don't actually have a lot of information about the greater context of the conflict that's happening in the Chaos story. So the Oracle says, I can't hold them back much longer. Help me. Meh, 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 meh. And the zombies then attack. So that's pretty standard stuff. Again, another massive brass statue here with a load of serpents at the feet. Looks awesome. Like, again, environment looks great, but whether that will have any real fundamental significance when we play the map or not remains to be seen. I just think that there's a lot of opportunity for them to do more with that. So we get this nice zoom through the map here. Again, notice these shards coming through once again, and we then see the Oracle, and we get this kind of weird sequence where we're in this Oracle vision, I guess, and then we go through and we get this sort of flash of lightning or whatever, and then the Oracle has a vision, I guess, which sort of reminds me of Dead of the Night, looking through and seeing various parts of the map or various different objects and stuff when you're unlocking the Pack-a-Punch. We see our characters running down here and some wall guns and stuff like that, and there's actually a little bit of fire here as well, which is interesting. I didn't notice that the first time I watched this. Don't know if that's just Wraithfire or if there's actually something more significant going on there. But characters running through, load of zombies getting torn up, which is basically standard fare, right? Nothing really too crazy about any of that. And then we see our Zeus statue. Now, obviously, the statues are going to be returning, and Zeus is the statue that most closely relates to this map. Whether or not they give Zeus as a god some more personality in this map, again, remains to be seen. I think that there's huge amounts of opportunity for it, but it might feel a little weird if the Zeus statue gets a load of focus, and then the other perks are just kind of left by the wayside like, hey, we're important too. I mean, obviously, it leads us up to maybe other focuses for other gods in other maps, but personally, I'd really like to see Zeus actually being more of a character rather than an object in the world. I think that would be great. And just in case anyone's wondering, yes, this eagle moving its head is not a huge deal. That's something that we are kind of familiar with. And then we get to this shot. We see our Bowie knife here, characters moving through this area. And again, gold in the top left. And then we get to these statues in the middle. Now, there's some special significance to these things. These aren't just statues in the conventional sense that you might see with, for example, these statues in the background. You've got all of these red shards as well in the crowd here, and there's a very specific scene that is being shown. You've got this artifact, which is stuck right in this character's hand, and you also have this sort of king-looking fellow who's frozen. Now, the inference that you're being sort of led to make here is that not only are these people statues, but they're actually petrified, as you would associate with Medusa, Medusa's glare. Medusa has snakes for hair, obviously. She is a gorgon, and if you look into her eyes, you turn to stone. That's the idea, and I feel like it's pretty clear that that's the sort of thing that we're seeing here. I mean, you then get these skeletons rising up and forming and grabbing spears and stuff, and this is all very cool, and then putting these masks on as well. But the thing that I'm much more interested in this scene are these characters that are completely frozen in place in the center of this arena. Then we see this boy, and this boy looks pretty chunky. He's a pretty chunky lad. I originally thought that this was going to be a kind of regular Minotaur type deal, but it looks like that's not what they're going for. They're playing with other things instead, which is totally fine, but I was really hopeful to see some kind of labyrinth type stuff going on in this map because, again, there's ample room for it. Then we see this beam coming down from the sky, and notice the glow on Diego's hand. I think this is probably one of those elemental gauntlets being used. This shot is also really interesting because we get a look at these 2 gold plates. So it's not just one of these things, but there are multiple of them reflecting the sunlight from above. And I think that there's a very good chance that what we're going to need to do in this map is orient these things somehow in order to focus the sunlight into maybe specific areas or something like that in order to either interface with Medusa in some way or some other aspect of the map itself. Maybe we're going to activate something using them or something along those lines. I think that there's a decent chance that that's the direction we end up going in. I'm absolutely open to you guys disagreeing with me with that one though, so let me know in the comments down below if you think there's some other significance to what's going on there. We see one of the gauntlets here, and in the audio we hear that there's the blessing of Gaia being imparted on us, and this is going to create this really cool ground effect where it's like a ground slam, kind of similar to Spellbreak, honestly. That's the thing that's sort of closest to. And there's a fire version of it as well, which again is kind of reminiscent of Spellbreak, because in Spellbreak you can do things like lay down the rock kind of line that you saw just then and then set it on fire and ignite it and turn it into a firewall. Obviously not of the internet kind. Now notice here in this shot, these zombies are being killed. You got Bruno there, you got Shaw in the background too, but there is this weird sort of blue swirling souls effect going around the statues. So is that because this is going to be some kind of soul box type thing, or maybe it's just the artifact itself creating the effect? We don't know, but it certainly looks interesting. You then get more Wraithfire there, and this is going to pan across past that one statue, and we see some more zombies, and again, these red shards in the background. Now, I'm really curious to see what the red shard stuff is meant to indicate. I mean, kind of gives me vibes of like Dragon Age Inquisition almost, that kind of feeling. And then we see Pegasus swooping in, and I gotta say, they've done a really good job with how this thing looks, man. I mean, it sort of zooms in over this arena, battlefield type area, starts casting out electricity all over the place, shocking the zombies. If that's a trap, that would be hella cool, but there's a good chance that that's just something that happens throughout the round, I suppose, as well, or as part of the Easter egg. And this is a shot that I'm really intrigued by as well, because it looks like we are able to go a little bit kind of underground almost, or certainly outside the regular city streets, which is promising too, because just being confined to the city itself might be a little restrictive, though it's nice that there are some more options. This is, I think, another gauntlet being used. This time, I guess it's an air gauntlet or something along those lines. And this looks like a massive statue in the background. You can kind of see a face back there as well. So again, lots of potential for these things to be telling their own visual story as we play through the map. A huge amount of potential, in fact. And it looks like that's actually overlooking the Pack-a-Punch too. So that's pretty cool to see. I think this is an area that we actually saw previously, so not a huge amount to sort of talk about there. Another one of these brass statues on this shot. And then we see some Greek text here, which is cool because we're going to see similar a little later, and so I'll come back to this. There's some more there as well. You can see the Greek text just about behind that pillar. And notice that it looks like we're actually flying on Pegasus, which is really cool. The last time we did that would have been, I mean, Gorod Krovi. Not that that was Pegasus, but the last time we rode any kind of beast to get around the map. And so I'm assuming that that's going to be the fast travel in this map, riding on the back of Pegasus to a new destination. And maybe while we're doing so, striking down on the zombies with that thunder and lightning from the air. This next shot's really interesting. We've got what looks like a dude who has had a pretty bad time, mask off, dead on the floor, part of this mysterious order that we really could do with learning some more about at this point. And then we get this really weird shot of this. I mean, I don't know what this is. Obviously, this is Oracle Vision. But then we get this gold ball thing with some green stuff on it. Like, is that a drop of acid or is that something else? It's kind of hard to tell. We see it pan up to this figure here, but I'm just not sure what the thing below is meant to be. I'm not sure. I mean, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. There is this kind of green streak, which makes me think, okay, maybe this is indeed like a drip of some kind, but I mean, what is it? Don't know. It's weird. We then see a gladiator dude that kind of reminds me of the Brute from 9. looking pretty interesting, but again, very, very hard to see what the deal is really with this thing. And then we go through to the intro sequence, or a clip from the intro, it looks like. And the thing that I was talking about before, above the fire, with the shadows above it as well, says, "Know thyself." And it seems like that's going to be a theme that is pretty important throughout this map, is whether or not the characters are really going to be able to kind of use whatever knowledge they've gained over their journey so far to be able to defeat the bad guys and yada, 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 do all the things that you'd expect them to do. So the map comes out in a couple days. The one thing that I want to do real quick is just listen to the audio now so that we can talk about any particular details that come through from that. And in doing so, we'll basically rewatch the trailer and talk about any final thoughts we have. Overall, though, I think that this looks promising. I really think that the map actually looks visually very nice, and I'm hopeful that the story they tell here starts to pull people in a little bit more, because Chaos has been a little bit on the rocks, but I think that this map's a good opportunity to show people what the potential is for this story. So, once more with feeling, this is the trailer with audio this time, and I'll pause it as we go just to talk about any particular interesting points.
What have you done to Alistair Rhodes?
These are the only people I trust.
We will do whatever it takes to get Father back.
So up to there, obviously, they're just talking about things from the past, right? The video matches the audio, nothing really interesting.
Did you find what you were looking for?
Damn right we found it. We're not the first ones in here.
So that's a key detail that I think is really worth talking about for a moment. Jason and Craig confirmed when they originally revealed this map that there's already a trial going on. Like, the zombies are already there, and they're in the kind of control of the Oracle, seemingly at least, but there are some other characters who have already made it into this city and have started this trial, which has been going on for a very long time. They call it a Sentinel trial. We don't know who those characters that started it are, but we will no doubt be interfacing with them through the map as we play through the Easter egg, and so that's a key detail that you don't necessarily get from the visuals of the trailer, but is kind of reinforced by the audio and by what Jason and Craig have already said.
I cannot hold him forever.
Let's take this nice and easy.
Just like your father, I too am a prisoner. Please, set us free. Be steadfast, my champion.
So that's an interesting point just there. So the Oracle is saying, "Be steadfast, my champion." We're very much fighting in the Oracle's favor. I mean, the Oracle wants to be set free, so that's no surprise. But they're also calling out things like Alistair, which makes me think that despite the fact that we haven't seen Alistair here, maybe he's going to be present in the map in a way that we didn't really expect. I mean, we don't know what the deal is with him. We haven't seen him for a very long time at this point. And there's one logical suggestion to make, which is that Alistair is one of the characters that started this trial here alongside the Oracle. I mean, maybe the Oracle that we're seeing is actually similar to how we are gladiators in 9, a character from the quote-unquote real world who has been put in a different position as a specific character from mythology in the map. I think that could be really cool, having one person from real life put in a different point in history in a completely different role, and therefore maybe we end up seeing Alistair, for example, but not as Alistair, instead as some in-fiction character almost, who is present in the map in some way, but we have to set free, just like we have to set free the Oracle.
That artifact.
It's stuck.
Oh, great.
Gaia finds you worthy. Her hand is yours.
So again, there's the mention of Gaia finding you worthy. I think it's interesting because we're either going to end up calling this the Gaia Gauntlet, or we're going to end up calling it like the Earth Gauntlet. And let me know which you think you'd prefer in the comments down below, because obviously when I make a guide for this map, I'm going to need to call my guide one thing or the other. So let me know your thoughts on that one.
Watch your back, mademoiselle!
The winged steed will lead you. Your father, he waits you.
I hope you know what you're doing, Scarlet.
So that brings us to the end of the trailer. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. I know that Zombies is in a really weird place because you've got half the community that really wants to love the game. You've got another half the community that's really burned by the game because of the problems it's had. And it means that as a content creator, when I see something I don't like, I say, oh, I think this looks bad. And one half of the community gets absolutely enraged by that. And then when I say something looks good, the other half of the community goes, what? That's just wrong and you're just being a shill. Make up your mind. And they get really angry. And so we're sort of in a situation where you can't win, right? No matter what side you stand on, there's always going to be a whole load of people that are just angry, right? But that's okay, because at the end of the day, if this map is good, which so far it's looking like it has the potential to be, then both those sides can start to sort of come together again and have a good time with zombies. And that would be great. That's the most important thing at the end of the day, regardless of whether you like or don't like the stuff that's happened so far, regardless of if you've been having a great time or a bad time with the game. If the new map's good, everyone's a winner, right? So I'm hopeful for this. I'm really hopeful that Treyarch deliver on what I feel is a great trailer. Thanks for watching the breakdown, guys. I've been MrRoflWaffles. Drop a like if you've enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. All right? Bye for now.